My name is Burroughs Maxwell. I never thought I would speak this aloud. For years I carried it in silence, pressed against my chest like a sealed wound, like a secret vow I could not betray. But the weight of what I saw, what I heard, burns in me like fire, and fire cannot be hidden. I swore that if I lived through it, if I opened my eyes again in this world of flesh and shadow, I would not remain silent. I would pour it out, even if it cost me everything. That vow is why I speak now, not from arrogance, not from madness, but from obedience. Jesus told me something. He told me with a voice that pierced bone, a voice that reverberates still inside my chest when the night is quiet. And his words, they have haunted me, broken me, remade me. He said, in the 3 days of darkness, 99% will make this mistake, and it will kill them. Since that moment, his words have been branded into my soul like fire. I wake with them. I sleep with them. I breathe them. They chase me through dreams. They echo when I am alone. They tremble in me even now as I speak. Even now, I feel his presence beside me. The weight of eternity presses close, and the cost of revealing this is heavy. Heavy as judgment, heavy as mercy. But I must, because time is short, because the veil is thinning, because what is coming will not wait for our comfort or our doubt or our laughter at warnings. What he showed me is not just for me. It was never mine to keep. It is for you, for the one listening now, for the one who has felt the tug in their spirit that something is coming, something vast, something merciless, and yet holy. Do not turn away. Do not dismiss these words as story, as imagination, as dream. They are not dream. They are not story. They are a summons. He called my name in the dark, and now I am calling yours. Because in the days to come, when the light is swallowed and the voices rise in the shadows, you will remember this moment. And when you remember, you must choose. You must return. Return to the fire. Return to the truth. Return to one who warned us, not because he wished to frighten us, but because he longed to save us. My name is Burroughs Maxwell, and this is my vow fulfilled. My name is Burroughs Maxwell, and I will keep speaking. Before the vision, before the vow, my life was not remarkable. It was ordinary, painfully ordinary. I woke each day to the same rhythm. The alarm shattering the silence before dawn, the bitter coffee I sipped without tasting, the hollow scrolling through glowing screens while the world outside still lay in darkness. There was traffic, always traffic, miles of brake lights stretching like a river of red. Each of us sealed in our cars, eyes glazed, hearts dulled, moving toward work we did not love for wages that never seemed enough. I told myself this was life. This was what everyone did. You get up, you go, you come home, you sleep, you repeat. And yet, beneath the sameness, something inside me was withering. My prayers were few, my words rushed, my soul scattered. I moved through days like a man underwater, hearing muffled sounds of life, but never quite reaching the surface to breathe. I remember one morning, staring at my own reflection in the bathroom mirror, wondering if there was still light in my eyes. They looked tired, empty, as though something had been drained away quietly, drop by drop, while I wasn't watching. I laughed it off, of course. I told myself I was tired. I told myself everyone felt this way. But deep down, a whisper troubled me. Something was off. The air felt heavier than it should. The nights felt longer. The silence between heartbeats grew louder. It was as though a shadow hung over the world, invisible but pressing, a weight you couldn't quite name but could feel in your bones. And when I tried to ignore it, when I tried to distract myself with noise, the whisper grew sharper. Return to the fire. That was the phrase I kept hearing in my spirit, though I didn't know what it meant at the time. Return to the fire. But what fire? My faith had become ashes, my devotion dim, my soul restless. Still, I carried on. Commutes, bills, shallow conversations. Smiling when I felt nothing, nodding when people spoke. Carrying out a life that seemed whole from the outside but hollow within. But sometimes in the quiet, in the lonely hours before dawn or after midnight, when no distraction could shield me, I would feel it. The sense of being watched, not by man, but by eternity itself. The sense that I was being marked, prepared, drawn towards something I did not yet understand. He called my name in the dark. I know that now. But then I only felt the unease, the restlessness, the knowledge that life as I was living it could not last. And still I went on, pretending, working, sleeping, waiting, until the day everything stopped. It came suddenly, without warning, like a thief in the night. I remember the moment with a clarity that shakes me even now. One moment. I was moving through the rhythm of an ordinary day. The hum of the world, the clutter of thoughts, the fragile weight of a body I had taken for granted. And then, like a crack of lightning across a silent sky, it struck. My chest seized, a crushing weight pressing down, as if invisible hands had wrapped themselves around my ribs. My breath staggered, shallow, gasping, reaching for air that would not come. Panic rose, but my body would not obey me. My hands trembled, then went numb. The world around me blurred and tilted, colors bleeding together, sounds stretching into echoes. I tried to cry out, but the voice caught in my throat. The room seemed to fold in on itself, shrinking and stretching all at once. My heart hammered against my ribs like a bird desperate to escape its cage. And then, as suddenly as it began, it slowed. Too slow. Each beat a distant drum. Each breath a fading ember. The fear should have consumed me, but something else came. A stillness. A strange, unnatural calm. I felt myself slipping. Not falling, not collapsing, but sliding out of the body I had known all my life. My vision dimmed. Yet in that dimness, a sharper clarity appeared. I could see myself. My own body hunched, trembling, collapsing. My lips pale, my eyes wide. But I was no longer bound within it. I hovered, detached, watching. And the strangest thought passed through me. So this is how it ends. Yet even in that moment, a whisper lingered, not a despair, but a summons. A pull, gentle and irresistible, like the tide drawing the sea. I felt it in my spirit, an invitation, a command, a hand extended though I could not see it. He called my name in the dark, and I obeyed. The walls dissolved, the air itself thinned, the weight of gravity, the anchor of flesh, released me. I was being drawn, not pushed, upward, outward, into a vastness that pulsed with hidden light. The pain was gone. The fear was gone. All that remained was a sense of leaving, of stepping out of one life and into another, of crossing a threshold I had never been told existed, yet had always known was waiting. Time unraveled. Moments stretched into eternity, and eternity collapsed into a single heartbeat. I was no longer bound by seconds or minutes. My body was behind me, crumpled, helpless, but I was being carried towards something greater. It was not a dream. Dreams fade at dawn. This was sharper than any waking moment. The edges of reality cut with clarity that flesh could never endure. I drifted into silence, a silence so full it seemed alive, and with each breathless step away from the body that failed me, I knew I was crossing over. The world I had clung to was fading, dissolving like smoke in the wind. And ahead of me, though I could not yet see, I could feel a doorway, a presence, a realm that was waiting. The earth was behind me now, and eternity had opened its hand. When the earth fell away, I entered silence, not the silence of an empty room, not the silence of night, but a silence so alive it seemed to breathe. It was weightless and vast, filled with something that felt both ancient and new. I was carried, lifted, not by wings, not by wind, but by a current of unseen power, gentle yet irresistible. I drifted upward, and as I rose, the darkness around me began to change. It shimmered, like a veil being pulled back, and behind it was a light unlike any I had ever seen. It was not harsh. It was not blinding. It was living. The light moved like water, flowing and singing, as though every particle carried a note in an eternal song. The colors within it shifted and danced, gold, silver, blue like flame, white like fire refined. They did not merely shine, they embraced. They touched my soul with warmth that pierced deeper than skin, deeper than memory. Peace washed over me, peace so complete, so overwhelming, that I wept without tears. Every ache I had carried, every sorrow, every shadow of loneliness dissolved into that river of light. I had never known peace until then. I had only tasted fragments, shadows of it, in fleeting moments of silence on earth. But here, peace was a presence, strong and tender, wrapping around me like arms I had longed for all my life. He called my name in the dark, and now the dark was gone. I became aware I was not alone. Shapes moved within the radiance. Souls, beings standing in the glow, as if they had been waiting. They did not speak, and yet I knew them. Some were faces I could not place, yet familiar, as though my spirit had known them before time began. Others were ancient, older than memory, luminous with wisdom and sorrow, eyes burning with compassion. They were witnesses, silent witnesses. Their presence did not frighten me. It humbled me. They regarded me not with judgment, but with recognition, as if to say, yes, you were meant to come. Yes, you were called. I felt myself growing lighter, as though the last threads of earth were slipping away. The burdens I'd carried, fear, shame, regret, peeled off me like old garments. What remained was bare, vulnerable, yet safe. I was being prepared. The atmosphere around me pulsed with love. Not love as I had known it, conditional, fragile, fleeting, but love that existed before creation, love that does not end. It filled everything. It breathed in me and through me. I could no longer tell where I ended and where the love began. Return to the fire. That refrain pulsed through me again. I understood now. It was not the fire of destruction, but the fire of purity, the fire of presence, the fire of the one who waits beyond the veil. The stillness deepened. Pressed against my spirit, a weight more holy than gravity. I knew I was approaching something greater, something that all creation bows before. My soul trembled, not in fear, but in reverence. I was being drawn into the center of eternity. He called my name in the dark, and in the brilliance of that living light, I knew he was near. And then he came. I cannot tell you the moment he appeared, for it was not an arrival as we know it. He did not step into the light. He was a light, and suddenly I was within him. One breath I was surrounded by radiance, and the next I realized the radiance was him. His presence filled everything, air, silence, eternity. And yet, it pressed close, nearer than the skin, nearer than thought. I had imagined him before, paintings, stories, the fragment of sermons whispered over years, but none of it prepared me. Nothing mortal could. His presence was overwhelming, yet it did not crush me. It was fire, yes, but fire that burned while consuming, fire that purified instead of destroying. And in that fire I knew I was seen, entirely. He looked at me, though his eyes were not like ours. His gaze was weight and light together, reaching to the marrow of me, uncovering what I had hidden even from myself. He did not need to ask. He did not need to speak. His gaze opened me like a book, every page laid bare, every line read aloud in silence. He called my name in the dark, and when he spoke it now, in this place of living flame, I felt my soul tremble with recognition. There was no condemnation, none. Every moment of failure, every sin, every shadow I had tried to bury rose before me. Not because he dragged them up, but because his presence was truth, and truth leaves no place for hiding. Yet in that revelation, there was no scorn, only understanding, perfect understanding. It was as though he said, without words, I know, I have always known, and I love you still. I wept, though not as I once wept on earth. These tears were not despair, but release, a loosening of chains I had carried, a surrender I had resisted all my life. In his presence, I no longer needed to defend, to justify, to pretend. I was naked and known, and it was enough. Then the weight shifted. The silence deepened. His gaze pierced through me again, but this time it was not to reveal my past. It was to summon my future. His presence grew sharper, urgent but tender, and I felt his will pressing into me like a seal. You were brought here for a reason. The words were not sound but spirit. They thundered and whispered all at once. They shook me, and yet they steadied me. I wanted to answer, but my voice was dust. My spirit, however, answered without hesitation. Yes, Lord, whatever you ask. And he showed me, not through visions, not through endless explanations, but through a single unveiling of truth. The world was moving toward a great shaking. Darkness would cover the earth, thick and suffocating. And in that darkness, nearly all would stumble. Nearly all would make the same mistake. His face, if face it could be called, burned with sorrow and love. He was not a king demanding obedience, though he is king of all. He was not a judge delivering sentence, though his judgment is perfect. He was a shepherd, pleading with his sheep not to wander. He was a bridegroom, aching for his bride to awaken, return to the fire. The refrain thundered in me now, not as memory, but as command. Return to the fire of his presence, the fire of his voice, the fire of obedience. Then he pressed the vow into me. I did not choose it. It was chosen for me. Yet I consented, trembling. If I lived, I would speak. If breath returned to me, it would not be my own. My life would no longer belong to silence. He called my name in the dark, and in the brilliance of his love, he gave me a charge. Go back. Tell them. Warn them. Time is short. And as his word settled in me like burning coals, I knew everything would change. He did not show me a story to entertain. He did not give me symbols to ponder as puzzles. He gave me a wound, a warning, and a vow. The radiance around him grew still, and I felt the whole realm lean toward his voice. And then he told me what I could barely bear to hear. There will come a veil, he said, not in words as we use them, but in truth that pressed into my soul, truth that burned deep in fire. It will fall across the earth, and the people will tremble. Darkness will cover every home, every street, every nation. The world will be swallowed in shadow. I felt it as he spoke, the suffocation of it, the heavy silence of a sun blotted out. Not night as we know it, not the tender quiet of evening, but a darkness that devours, a silence that suffocates. And in that silence, the mistake would come. Most will falter, his voice grieved. Most will not endure. 99 in 100 will make the same mistake, and it will cost them everything. I trembled, for I knew what he meant. He showed me doors trembling under invisible hands. He showed me voices outside, voices sweet and familiar. Mothers calling children, children weeping for fathers, the sound of beloved whispering through the keyhole. And behind the doors, souls already afraid, already shaking, desperate for comfort. And the mistake was this: they would open, they would believe the voice. They would unlatch the window, lift the curtain, unseal the door. And in that one act, they would invite death inside. For the voices are not what they seem. They are imitations, shadows given shape, deception wrapped in familiarity, demons cloaked in memory. The ones who answer will be swept away. He called my name in the dark, and his gaze pierced me with both fire and tears. Tell them, do not listen to the voices. Do not break the seal. Do not seek light where there is none. The mistake of 99 will not be rebellion, but fear. Fear that makes them reach for a counterfeit. Fear that drives them into the arms of shadow. Fear that persuades them they must act when I told them only to wait. And the shadows will come cunningly. They will mimic the sound of a lost child. They will plead with the words of a mother. They will whisper with the tenderness of a friend. They will sound like memory, like love, like truth, but they are not truth. Remain sealed, he told me. Remain still. Remain in prayer. Trust only me. I saw it, those who survived. Their windows covered, their lamps hidden, their rooms thick with silence. And in that silence they prayed, not loudly, but steadily, whispers of scripture trembling from their lips, hands clenched in faith though their bodies shook with fear. They did not answer the knocking. They did not speak to the voices. They did not open the door. And the darkness passed over them, leaving them alive, sealed by obedience. Return to fire. The refrain pulsed through me, as if heaven itself chanted it. Return to the fire, for only as fire endures. He showed me, too, his sorrow. Not anger, not rage, but sorrow that bled through eternity. A sorrow for the unprepared, for those who mocked the warning, who laughed at the thought of judgment, who trusted in their own cleverness. They would hear the first whisper at their door and fold. They would see the false light and mistake it for dawn. They would not endure. His sorrow seared me more deeply than the warning itself. To see love so vast ache for the souls who turn away, it is unbearable. And yet it is truth. The revelation pressed on me with unbearable weight. This was not about a day or an event alone. It was about the posture of the soul. The ones who fail then, fail now. They live already with open doors, already chasing false lights, already bending to fear. And unless they return to the fire, unless they cling to his word, they will be swept away. He called my name in the dark, and with that call, he presses truth into me. Discernment is survival. Obedience is life. Fear is the enemy. Not once did he speak condemnation. Every word was invitation, stern, urgent, but loving, a cry from eternity. Be ready. Be sealed. Trust me alone. And with those words, my vow deepened. I knew that if I ever walked again on earth, every breath would be a witness. Every word would be a warning. Every heartbeat would be obedience. Return to the fire. For the day will come when the world is shaken, and only those who stand within his flame will not be consumed. He did not leave me with only the terror of what was to come. No. After the weight of his sorrow, after the unveiling of the mistake that would claim so many, he showed me something else. A vision not of despair, but of hope. A vision of what remains when the shaking has passed. I saw them, a remnant, small but radiant. Families huddled in silence, yet surrounded by a light no shadow could touch. Their homes simple, unremarkable, but marked by the presence of God. It was not the wood of their doors that kept them safe, nor the cloth that covered their windows. It was the covering of his hand, the shield of obedience, the seal of trust. Inside those rooms, there was trembling, yes. The human heart still knows fear. But over the trembling came a deeper current, prayer. Words of scripture whispered into the dark like lanterns hung in the unseen. Mothers teaching their children to recite the Psalms. Fathers holding their families close, confessing their own weakness but clinging to Christ. Children lifting their small voices, fragile yet powerful in faith. Peace, not the peace of circumstance, but the peace that passes understanding. A peace that wrapped them while the world outside screamed. And outside, chaos. Streets writhing with shadows. Voices distorted into mockery. People tearing at their own doors, deceived by illusions. The night was filled with despair, but those sealed inside with him were untouched. He called my name in the dark, and through that name, he showed me these survivors would rise not only to endure, but to lead. When the darkness lifted, and it did lift though slowly, like a heavy veil torn from the sky, the world did not return as it was. Nothing remained untouched. Cities scarred, nations shaken, hearts pierced with the memory of their own choices. But out of the ruins, the remnant emerged, not as rulers of politics, not as masters of systems, but as carriers of fire. They had been sealed, tested, preserved, and now they carried in their voices the weight of testimony. They became shepherds to the wandering, lights to the lost, healers to the broken. The faithful remnant, once hidden in quiet rooms, became the pillars of renewal, and from them spread not a revival of buildings or institutions, but an awakening of souls. I saw it. People of every language lifting their eyes, not to governments, not idols, but to Christ. I saw children prophesy with clarity beyond their years. I saw the elderly dreaming again, their visions reborn. I saw men and women walking unashamed with scripture burning from their lips, no longer afraid to speak the name of Jesus in streets that once mocked him. And through it all, his voice echoed over the earth. The world must be shaken before it can be restored. It was not punishment for cruelty's sake. It was mercy, severe mercy, a shaking that stripped away illusions, that tore false lights from their pedestals, that shattered every idol so the true could be revealed. Return to the fire. The refrain pulsed, steady, unyielding. Return to the fire, for the shaking is not the end. It is a beginning. I saw a new earth forming, not a utopia of man's making, but a kingdom rooted in the hearts of the faithful, the humble leading the proud, the meek inheriting the ashes and planting gardens where desolation once ruled, the broken becoming healers, because they had learned to cling to the only one who saves. The darkness was not the end. It was the threshold. The breaking was not the destruction. It was the birth. And in that vision, I understood those who endure, those who remain sealed, will not only survive, they will become the sparks of awakening. They will carry the testimony of his fire into the world. He called my name in the dark. And through that call, he gave me this truth. The world must be shaken before it can be restored. And when it is restored, it will not be by the hands of kings or nations, but by the hands of those who clung to Christ in the silence, who trusted him when all else failed.